I am Nikki Haverstock. I was the January author, and I am so excited to be here with Carly Winter, our February author. So I thought I would just dive right into it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been an author?
Sure. It's lovely to meet you, Nikki.
Lovely to
My
meet you
name is
too.
Carly Winter. I have been an author for about 10 years now. Um, I live in Phoenix with my husband and our yappy dog, and I'm sure she'll make an appearance at some point today. And we are part-time empty nesters as our son is in college, but he still comes home every now and then. And as far as other interests go, I love hiking here. I love the Arizona weather, except for summertime, where I become basically a vampire. But yeah, that's me.
I hear that's very common for people who live in Arizona is to sort of flip their days in summer.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of snowbirds, they just get out. I wish we could afford to do that, but no. So,
So why don't you tell us about your day to day? Do you write every day?
I used to, but I don't anymore. I try to write about 3 days a week, just get really good sprints in. But we've also retired now, so I'm finding myself having a lot of other um, interests outside of writing now and working and all of that. So I'm not spending as much time in front of the computer as I used to, which is really lovely. I like that a lot. So I'm spending a lot more time outdoors and things like that.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Let's get into your book for the book club. The
Okay.
book, the book is Dearly Departed. Why don't you just give us a kind of general overview of this book? What should people expect?
So, Dearly Departed. It's
Ooh.
a 1960s cozy mystery. It's about a single woman who lives in San Francisco during the 1960s, and she has decided to become a airline attendant or a stewardess, as they used to call them, against her family's wishes. So this has created a lot of family conflict for her, and she moves in with her roommate, Donna, and they live in the middle of San Francisco. And there's Vietnam protests, and there's hippies, and there's just everything 1960s that you can think of. They have a cat named Ringo, and everything's going well until she finds her neighbor murdered. And her neighbor was a very special man to her. He was a Vietnam veteran. And so she realizes that the police are not doing exactly what they should do. And she decides that she is the one who is going to find the murderer herself. And so this leads to a lot of mishaps, a lot of twists and turns. But of course, eventually she does, because this is a cozy mystery. She finds the murder.
Wonderful. So when it comes to historical mysteries, I know that there's sort of a spectrum between incredibly accurate and we get the vibe. Where would you put your book, and what kind of research did you do to make it feel feel accurate?
Um, I did a ton of research for this book. This book came as this book came from a conversation I had with my mother in 2019, 2020. She was just shy of 80 years old then, and she lived through the 60s. And she actually wanted to become a flight attendant back then, but her family said, "No, you will not become one of those girls," is what they said.
Oh,
So I started talking to her about that and about her living in San Francisco in the 1960s. And she shared different stories with me about her experiences there, living with, like, I think there were six girls who lived in an apartment together. They were just all jammed in. And I listened to stories from her, and this whole idea just started forming in my mind about writing these books about her becoming the flight attendant that she always wanted to be. And then, um, of course, meshing it into the cozy mystery vibe. So then I had to figure out the golden age of flying and what that was about as far as being a stewardess. And I actually read a few books. I read magazine articles, of course, lots and lots of Google searches, things like that. So I tried really, really hard to keep it as factual as possible, but also bring in all the cozy mystery tropes and things like that. And I was very nervous about it because, you I wasn't alive then. You weren't alive then. We don't know how it was. And so I'm very thankful that I do have readers who were alive then, and the feedback has been that I nailed it. So I'm very happy about that.
Can you give us some examples of what you learned about being a stewardess in the 1960s?
Yeah. So stewardesses had to be a certain height and weight.
Mm.
They went through weigh-ins. Sometimes it was weekly, sometimes it was maybe monthly. Um, the planes, of course, were filled with smokers. There wasn't a smoking section like in the 80s. There was a smoking section. Um, there wasn't a smoking section. Just everybody just lit up wherever, excuse me, wherever they were. Um, when they served meals on fine china with a rose. And the meals, it wasn't uncommon for a meal to be like steak and lobster or, a starter of caviar, or it was travel was a lot different then than it is now. It was a very formal, it was a formal thing to do. It wasn't, schlepping you around the United States like it is now. Like you're just, cattle on a bus or whatever. But it was a very formal, very it yeah, it was a lot different than it is now. And even in the 70s, I remember traveling with my parents and my mom saying, "No, you have to put on your Sunday dress, your church dress or whatever." So it was very, very different. And the thing that I found most interesting is that airlines would recruit stewardesses by telling them that it was possible for them to meet their husbands on a flight. That was like their big selling point for wanting for bringing in stewardesses. And I'm sure some of these girls, yes, they were looking for husbands, but I think some of them were also just they're coming out of the more traditional roles into the feminist roles and trying to find a way to see the world before they step back into those traditional roles, is the way that I imagined it.
Yeah, very interesting. Is there any little bits of research that you came across that you weren't able to put into the book, but maybe you want to share?
There was not. I put everything that I found into the book. And some of the by today's standards, like some of the stuff that I found by today's standards, I was really surprised by, shocked by, like, oh, come be a stewardess and find your husband, not come be a stewardess and be an independent woman and see the world and, come find your husband. So I think that was the most shocking thing to me. It was like, oh my God, that was their whole marketing thing. So
Yeah. You mentioned, and maybe this is a spoiler alert, but you mentioned that in your own family, they said they didn't want someone to be a stewardess because those kind of girls, how were they viewed?
um a lot of times, and I'm not saying that all the girls were like this way, that because that is simply not true, but a lot of them were easy party girls, they were there for the party. They were there, they've had this newfound independence. They were spreading their wings, and they were the party girls. So, and I'm not saying that every single one was like that, but yeah.
That's how they were perceived, maybe by the
Hmm.
public.
Hmm.
How interesting. Are there any underlying themes that you explored in the book or and series?
Um, yes. And this was after long talks with my mom. So you have women coming from the traditional role into this new feminist role where they have more freedom and they can see beyond marriage and children, and they want to experience that. And my mom felt that. That was one reason that she wanted to become a stewardess, is because she wanted to travel. She wanted to see things, and she didn't want to, she wanted a family eventually, but in her early 20s, she wanted to do all these different things before she settled down. So my character in the book, she does struggle with that as far as what her parents wanted, which was her to settle down and have a family, versus what she wanted. And then also finding her voice and going after what she wanted versus what everybody else wanted. Um, to stand up for herself, to realize that just because a man is talking down to you doesn't mean you have to take it. Just really becoming a full person, I guess a full, an assertive woman.
Oh,
So
uh,
that whole arc, it goes throughout the series.
wonderful. How many books are in the series?
Right now, there's three.
Okay.
There's three. Dearly Departed is out, and then In Plain Sight will be out in March, and then Lawless Layover will be out May.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Do you only write historical cozy mysteries?
I don't. And this was a this became a labor of love for me because of my mom. Usually my cozy mysteries are contemporary midlife women. I do have one with a younger woman with anxiety who's attached to her grandmother's ghost and that.
Hmm.
So this became a labor of love for me because of my mom and wanting to give her the experience of a stewardess, even though she could never have had that.
I'd love to hear about some of your other series because I know that when I find a new author, the most exciting thing is when they have a large backlist. So, if people enjoy this series and they're ready to kind of branch out, what are your other series and how do you pitch them to people?
So the most popular series by far is called the Haywood Herbalist Cozy Mysteries, and the main character is she was a soap opera star in Hollywood,
Oh.
very popular soap opera star. Her husband committed some fraud and extortion, and she got blacklisted for Hollywood from Hollywood. Her life burnt down literally and figuratively. So she ends up in a small town in Arizona. She has to get a job. She's got no money, and she gets a job in a herbal apothecary, and she learns about the herbs, and then her boss dies, and then her boss had left her the store, and it's she's got a lot of she's trying to keep her previous life secret, and so it's her trying to keep all of these secrets plus run this business plus trying to make friends but not giving away too much of herself, and then of course solving murders. Then I have a spin-off of that, which is the Haywood Hounds, and it's a spin-off of one of her friends who is a dog rescuer. She can talk to her dog. And
Like a paranormal?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
a little bit of paranormal. And then the one with the ghost, the ghostly grandmother who is so you've got the main character who's young, she's full of anxiety, and then you've got the ghost who is just off the chain. And so it's been kind of described as a Laurel and Hardy, they're just always butting heads and things like that. But I think that one's my favorite.
A little quiz offhand. Do you remember how many books you have in each of those series?
Okay.
I know it's hard. It is hard.
So, Haywood Hounds has six. Haywood Herbalist has, it will be nine next month.
Okay.
And Sedona Spirit, the ones with the ghost, has 6 as well.
Well
Look at
done.
that.
So if people want to find out more about your books, where should they go to get more information?
The best place to go is my website. It's Carly Winter Cozy Mysteries. I have all my books there. They're a little bit cheaper than they are on the retailers, and I'm always running specials and putting together special bundles and giving away gift cards to the site. So I think that's the best place.
Okay, so readers can buy directly from your website, and it's a little
Yes.
better price. If they are diehard vendors, are they available on Amazon and the other vendors?
Oh yeah, yeah, they're available everywhere. Amazon, Google Play, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, everywhere.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the readers before we get going?
I don't think so. I hope that if you pick up Dearly Departed this month, that you really enjoy it and that, yeah, that you enjoy it. And thank you very much.
I'm sure they will. Thank you so much for meeting with me today,
Thank
and thank
you.
you to all the readers.
Bye.
Bye.